Guys, and welcome to our YouTube channel. We're here in Braamfontein and we're just doing some research on a very interesting topic of are we born a man or do we become a man? So we're going to find out in a moment. Thank you. How can you describe what it means to be a man for you as a female?
To be a man?
Yeah.
Like,
What does it mean to you when we say this guy is a man? What does it mean to you as a female?
like he's powerful, he can take care of a woman, but he mustn't think, he's on top just because he's a man, Yeah.
Okay. Good, thanks. What a man is for you as a female?
For me, I think a man is just someone who just takes ownership of everything that he does, someone who's responsible, and then someone who's just actually, mature. Yeah, I think for me that's what a man is. Someone who can take care of his family, whether being like wife and kids or just like where he grew up. So for me, that's just a man, yeah.
Okay. And what does it mean to be a man for you?
For me to be a man means that you must provide for your family, not just your own family that you make, but the ones that you already have, meaning your mom and your dad. Yeah, that's just about it, of being a man, and also being a reasonable, reasonable figure in the society. So people must look up to you.
Good man must hunt. You mustn't be sitting there waiting to be told, stand up, there's a chick there.
Does being a male mean being a man?
I can look at my kids and say, that means I'm a man. Or
how I see a man, because obviously I'm a lady, so...
The moment you asked that question, what does it mean to be a man? I was like, I'm not sure.
the thing that I think is awesome about being a man is that we Hey guys, I'm so delighted to be part of this conversation. My name is Cesar Matebula. I'm a marriage therapist.
Hi guys, my name is Danielle Campbell. I'm a mom, a wife, and a life coach.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gomez. I am an intern clinical psychologist. Masculinity happens to be one of my very strong research passion interests, so I too look forward to having a discussion with my fellow friends over here on what it means to be a man and what that looks like in our day-to-day lives.
Come on.
So let's get straight into it. So today, the main topic of this conversation today is what does it really mean to be a man? And I would like to formally welcome all of you, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking of your time. I know you've got busy schedules, and thank you so much for taking of your time to come and sit down with us and our viewers just to share your views and your perspectives on what it really means to be a man. I really appreciate that, and I hope that this is going to be a blessing to a lot of people who might be having questions, who might be wondering about what it truly means to be a man in our society. We see that there are so many changes happening around us, so much so that we can't really keep up. The version of a man that we knew yesterday is not necessarily the one that we know today, and I am so excited that we're having this talk, and I look forward to your views and your comments. So, my first question, and I would like to start with Baba Cesar. What does it mean to be a man?
As a marriage therapist, it's a big problem. Why? Because I'm discovering that men in general, your question is what it is to a man. My answer is men in today's society are confused. They don't know what is a man. They don't know what defines a man. Before we even talk about the man, we can talk about a male, just biology, a male. We'll get to that. But I just wanted to say, when I look at our society, I see a serious confusion. Just to define the male gender, just the manhood, being a man. What does that mean? Does it mean broad shoulders, going to gym, having a nice look, looking cool in a nice car? Does it mean a big salary? What does it mean? Does it mean degrees or spiritual? I'm a pastor. What does this thing called a man is? So maybe just to oil the discussion, I want to say, let's talk about it. Let's get to the bones of it. But all I can say before I can give to my brother here is I think that men in our society are lost. Men are confused. Traditionally speaking, men don't know what their identity is because traditions don't stick, they don't count anymore as much as it used to be in the past, where a man is defined because he's a head of the home or he provides food. Women of today have their own money. Women of today, they look their own businesses. So if you come and say what defines a man is having a big fat check, or that doesn't count anymore. And I therefore think that we are, as men, have lost our identity and we're grappling with the concept. We're trying to figure ourselves out because most of the things that used to define us don't count anymore. Yeah. Anyway, we'll continue.
Such an interesting perspective, and I would like to hear from Gomez as well. So, Gomez, before we comment on, what Baba Caesar mentioned, what does it mean for you to be a man?
For me, I'm much earlier on in his journey.
Sure.
So I'm now trying to figure out what does being a man mean for me right now. And when he said men are confused, I found it interesting because the moment you asked that question, what does it mean to be a man? I was like, I'm not sure.
No.
Yeah, that was my honest answer. I'm not sure because once upon a time, it used to be I could give a clear response and say, you know what, being a man does mean being a provider.
Yeah.
Being a man does mean being a protector.
Sure.
Do those definitions still count?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they do, but it seems there's more to it now.
That's right.
It's a little more complex than the traditional roles of
Come
just,
on.
when she's in danger, step up. When when your family needs resources, provide. It's become so much more than that.
Complex.
So I think for me, being a man today just means finding a way to negotiate the challenges in your community, right? Whether it's with yourself, whether it's with your community, there's a responsibility there. I mean, we cannot deny the parallels between manhood and responsibility. Those two go hand in hand. If you don't hold responsibility, you're not going to be seen as a man.
Okay.
I think in those contexts, it's still then said, oh, you're grown, but you're a boy. Your masculinity is taken from you because you can't hold responsibility. You cannot be depended upon. So I think for me, that's where I sort of anchor my manhood and say, am I reliable? Can my community depend on me in whatever role I'm supposed to play?
Okay.
So
Awesome.
that's my central point.
Awesome. Okay.
Wow. I'm just getting a lot of thoughts and, it's a very interesting topic, but we'll get into the juice of it in a moment. But I would also just like to give,
For me, it's really something that how I see a man, because obviously I'm a lady, so manhood, to me, it's someone that's strong. As a married woman, to me, it's the head of our home. And I know a lot of times we say men are the providers, but COVID happened, a lot of people lost their jobs. So if he can't provide for you anymore, is he not the man of the house anymore? I think for me, it's really someone that is authentic, that's true to himself, loving, caring, not afraid to show emotion, because I think a lot of times, you would hear men don't cry or they're not allowed to show emotion, but it's being able to be who you are and show your emotions freely. And for me, it's to know that my husband is the head, but the head needs a neck, and for us to navigate, together. So for me, I'm a mom of boys, and how do we raise our boys so that they can become strong men, but it's not strong physically.
Yes.
It's also strong mentally, because I think that's also a big part in society today, that we see men acting out because no one really teaches us how to take care of the insides. You know, we always learn about the outer, but who teaches us to take care of the insides? And if we're not good inside, and that's why it's playing out the way it's playing out today, where with gender-based violence, because there's a disconnect within.
Okay.
Wow. So I just want to kind of, reflect a little bit on the comments that have been made. The sense I got from Baba Caesar is there's a huge confusion around those roles.
That's right.
And maybe the question I just want to throw out there is there one version of being a man? So I guess then my second question to you would be, what does it mean to be a good man?
Okay.
And I guess maybe we will go ladies first. So Danny, you can lead us on this one.
Okay. So the qualities for me, a good man is someone that's loving, caring, that leads and also gives back. It's so important for a man to be comfortable in who he is. And I also think it's so important to see how he treats others, especially people that does nothing for him, like he won't benefit from it. So those are the qualities that I look for, to be genuine. I think loving, caring, all of those things are so important to me.
Okay.
I think it's the opposite to art, because I think men were always defined as being strong and macho, and to me it's actually the opposite.
Yeah, it's more the qualities
Yes.
and the physique and
Yes.
The things that we often that are portrayed out there to be what defines a man. And Baba Caesar, what does it mean to be a good man?
A good man. I think, let's put it this way. Let's say that man is a product, okay? And this product has a designer or creator or manufacturer. And that whoever created the product called man is the one who knows the qualities of the product. And that's the one who must tell us the good in that product. Because if I'm a Mercedes-Benz company and I design my Mercedes or S or whatever vehicle, I know the power it has. Yeah, so I would say, as far as I've been on this planet, I've learned to know that God is the one who defines the good inside his product, man. Because I've heard a lot of women, a lot of wives, start trying to define what is good in their husbands. And when I listen to couple number one, I'm thinking, but couple number two was saying that was bad. Why is this one saying is good? So with each and every couple, when you listen to the wives, you get a sense that every woman has their own good, their own qualities, their own description of what they are looking for in a man. So if I were to say, what is the general, summarized version of what is a good man? If I were to put 10 women here, they'll tell you different specs. Yeah, but we need to go back to God who designed his product, who would say, that's your opinion, but that's good. Because at the end, when God created us, he said it is good. What is good about us? One thing that I've come to know is that by just being created and designed in the image of God, that's good. Yeah, so for me, I would say quality number one of a male man on this planet, he must know his identity. He must know. The reason why there's so much confusion is that most men are trying to be something that they are not. And many men have tried to mutate around traditions, culture, societal opinions or public opinions or religion, but they've missed the one who created a man and said, I'll tell you why you're good. And then he said, hey, you are like me. That's why you're good. And secondly, God has given us an ability as males to naturally, we basically improve things by nature. We just love to improve things. That's why we are pioneers. We start things. We are risk takers. That's good about us as men naturally, and also God given us an ability to procreate. We are hunters by nature. That's why we like you guys. We are hunters. That's good about. That's what makes a good man. And a good man must hunt. You mustn't be sitting there waiting to be told, stand up, there's a chick there. You know, you must go for it, you know. You want to, you know, which is good. And another thing is that as men, what's good about us is we are protectors. Just touch my wife and see. Yeah, you'll see. I transform. Yeah, which is one of those things. But I just think that God is the one who defines the good, because everybody has their own opinion. And when you listen to from one woman to another, the good seems to change. And others will say, no, that's not good. No, it's good for me. Now what are you going to say? Yeah, so I think we need to stick with the manufacturer.
So I think what I'm getting from what you're saying is we have to base our judgment of what it means to be a good man on God.
Come on.
Not on human standards.
No, it differs. It changes too much.
Good.
Yeah.
And
It's unstable.
I'll give, the panel a chance to also just comment on that, because what comes to my mind is, what if someone doesn't believe in God? Or what if someone is still struggling with the concept of God?
That's right.
How do you speak to them in a way that will allow them to still get something on what it means to be a man? But we'll pick on that, once we've given Gomez a chance. But Gomez, what does it mean to you to be a good man?
I think, in my opinion, I'm going to borrow from what they say, because I think if I just start listing it, then it's going to be very repetitive on what they both spoke on just now. So I'll say I do largely agree with what both Danny and Babasi said, but for me, I would then add on that something I usually look at where I'd say either what makes me a good man or what makes the men around me good men is the ability, or rather the quality, to be able to sit with yourself and understand both who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, as well as where you can improve. Because I think a lot of the time, a lot of the problems that we face, not just as people, but since we're talking about men, I'll say particularly as men, is because we're not able to adequately sit with the situation and say, you know what? In these ways, I was the problem. In these ways, I contribute to either my suffering or to my community's suffering. It's like we don't really sit with those parts of ourselves. We find excuses for them. We find justifications for them. We find ways to place them either in other people or in other things. So and I think something that really helps us to just remain good contributing members of society is that we can sit with that and know when to take on the responsibility of not just the parts that are good for the community, but the parts that were also bad. That way we can actively address those issues instead of just saying, oh, someone will fix it. There's this bad thing happening in the community, but oh, someone will fix it. It kind of changes the dynamic. We're able to say there is this bad thing in the community. I'm bringing it into the space, and this is how I can sort of improve to make that better. I think that's something that's important.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, right? So I'm getting two things. The first thing is the ability to be self-reflective and to identify areas of yourself that you're good at, to be self-aware. And the second thing is about taking responsibility and initiative. So when you see something wrong, don't just point fingers. Be the change you want to see in your environment, kind of a thing. Okay? And maybe just a follow-up question. You can answer that.
Okay.
I made a comment around how do we speak to men who might either not believe in God or who might still be grappling with the concept of God and his goodness. Because a lot of the times we look at people who might feel like there's a lot of evil in the world. There's a lot of bad things that are happening that it's genuinely hard for them to truly believe in the concept of a good God who's out there wishing good for. So what can you say to that person about what it means to be a good man?
I think in that case, it's sort of this thing where even if you're not particularly, say, a Christian, there's a sense of spirituality for most people. So I would then speak to those men in terms of what is your sense of spirituality? Where do you align yourselves and your spiritual beliefs? In which religion or in which should I say, in which practice of religion do you center yourself? If there are, because there are also men who don't particularly align themselves in any way, I'm then looking to understand, how are you making sense of things? How are you making sense of your world? How are you adding meaning to what you're experiencing? Because that's going to tell me a lot about how you're then relating to your community, relating to your people, relating to yourself, and the qualities that you either value or completely disregard. Because as Baba said, if you value something, you're then going to say that it's good. You know what I mean? And if you don't, if you devalue it, you're then going to say it's bad because it's not helping you. So in that space, what are your good qualities? And if they're good for you, are they also good for the people around you? You know, perhaps there we can sort of start having a conversation around how to be a good man, a contributing man in the community without necessarily rooting it in. Only if we share the same beliefs, then we can coexist as men.
Thing around, you know, almost kind of the subjectivity in how women describe what it means to be a good man.
That's right.
So, and I just wanted to kind of maybe follow up with a question that almost kind of ties to what Gomez said around, are there universal kind qualities or characteristics that you yourself in your 50 years of life and 17 years of marriage and coaching couples, are there things that you can say these are common denominators that describe what it means to be a man?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I like biology, because right now we are living in a culture where gender is now gender lines are blurred. Well, one thing that I think is awesome about being a man is that we are blessed with. We're physically blessed with an ability to make love, okay, to make love. I know others would make love differently, but as a man, I love that idea that I can really make love to my wife. And beyond that, I have kids. And I can look at my kids and say, that means I'm a man, or that means I'm a male. Where would they come from? You know, that's the criteria, because there's now others who are men and they're together. And many times when I ask a question, so between the both of you, who's the wife, who's the man? But I see they're males. Sometimes it gets me, you know, yeah. So coming to the criteria or things we can look at that define a good man, I think for me, a good man, beyond the spiritual side of things, you must know where you're going. There must be a vision. There must be a foresight of some sort. Without having anybody, you know, saying, let's go somewhere, you should be going somewhere. You know, there's got to be a sense of purpose. What are you living for? What are you? Why are you born? Why are you born? Why are you here? I always want to say that the minute you discover your gift, that gives you an ability to know what is your passion, or what is your drive, or what is your purpose on earth, or what is your area of influence as a male. So if you've got your gift, then we can say, you know, now we know why you're born, because you're gifted in singing or whatever. I think each and every male must know their gift, and that would enable them to not to just float around. And when you know your gift, it gives your wife a sense of dignity and a joy, because the wife knows that if he has discovered his gift, I know my man is not going to get fired, because wherever he goes, he will manifest himself. That's one thing I picked up with my wife and I. For me, it defines, it says to me, a man must know his gift, and a man must know his area of influence, and a man must know his purpose, and a man must be able to stand in the mirror, in front of a mirror, and look at himself and say, oh, okay, I'm a man. And then we can move on from there. But he must be able, I think she mentioned some very important points. A man must be sensitive, beyond the protection side of things. A man must, I think he mentioned a very important thing, that a man must self-reflect, and not always be Mr. Right. You must also be able to say, you know what, I'm wrong, I messed it up. Yeah, the list continues. But a man must be faithful to one woman. A man must be loyal. A man mustn't be scattered and going everywhere, sleeping around. It shouldn't be that way. And must be content. You must be satisfied. You can't always be wanting. You must be satisfied with what you want and make things work in your own field. Just look after your own cut outfit and stop
Wow.
going around and
Sure. You've shared quite a lot, and I have a lot of things coming to mind. And I don't know about you guys. I'm really enjoying the conversation. So, sure. From what you've shared, what I'm kind of getting is that purpose, living a purpose-driven life, is the most important, or one of the key
it's one of the
characteristics
qualities
of
that I think
being a good man.
Yes.
Because if you know where you're going, then at least you're able to influence people around you, whether it is your partner, whether it is
your
the
kids,
people around
yeah.
you, your children. At least that sense of vision and direction is important.
that's right. That's right.
Thank you. And before we move on to the next question, because we can talk forever, right? But yeah, before we move on to the next question, and for this one, I'm just going to say the question, and then maybe we can give Danny a chance to just also share from your experience as a life coach and working in corporate, being a mother. What can you say about what it means to be a good man? From a more like professional, not necessarily a personal. You've interacted with many people in different settings. What are some of the things that you've picked up that made you think this is what it means to be a good man? And maybe before you speak, my next question is going to be, what does it mean to be a real man? Danny?
For me personally, I think it's both Gomez and Caesar. Number one, to know who you are and to be able to do some introspect, because if you don't know who you are and what you're anchored to, you're kind of drifting. And to have a vision, to have a purpose, because the Bible is so clear. Where there's no vision, people perish.
You don't wanna be there.
And as a man, as a leader, to be a good leader, you need to be anchored to something. And it's different for different people. But to be a strong leader and good communication skills. Because I think sometimes we, in corporate, people, because of their title, they almost play, how can I say, they don't know how to lead. So it's so important to be a good leader, to be able to communicate, to know where you're going, because otherwise we're just drifting.
Amen. So almost kind of similar to what has been mentioned. So a sense of purpose and vision is important, but one key aspect that you're adding is being grounded. So you have to have a sense of, where you stand. Don't be someone who can be wavered from all sides by anyone, anyhow. And while you still have a mic, a question comes to mind. This was like improvised, but it's just something that, I thought maybe we could comment on before we answer the next question. So the question really is, does being a male mean being a man?
When you look at a male and you're so confused, you don't know if it's a male or not, just undress. Go in front and stand in front of the mirror and look what you see there. Everything
With a penis, but I don't feel like someone who has a penis.
Being a man is more than what society claims you should be. So being a man...
So for someone to be judged as a good man, look at his family first. That is for me.
How does someone his age go about unlearning all of those society's those pressures, like from a young age, knowing that, okay, men don't cry, men don't play with dolls, men don't show men?
I wouldn't really know how to define it, because I had to be that strong girl for me. I had to be that. And so when I see a man do that, to me, that's not being a man. That's just being an average human being,